Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Doctors of Running podcast, where we, a group of doctors of physical therapy, discuss the art and science of running and the stuff that we put on our feet. Today at the round table, we have the founder of Doctors of Running, Dr. Matthew Klein, as well as Dr. David Salas and myself. I am Nathan Brown, and we have a fun episode today. As always, we are powered by our primary sponsor, Rabbit Apparel. They have some fun summer gear that is giving some UPF kind of protection for you. I've got this sick is a weird word. It's a sick short sleeve, and it's got a hood that can either be attached with buttons or it can be kind of stored in a pocket in your back, which is nice for my bald head. So we've been testing out some of their summer gear. You should go check out their Sun and Ice collection and everything they have going on there. And if you're wanting to get 10% off your order, you can use the code SUMMERDOCS during the month of July, and that'll get you 10% off of any order over $50.
I will say, I'm just going to add on to there, because part of that collection is the low tide as well.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's great. I ran it today, 9 miles, 3-mile tempo run, sweat a bunch. For some reason, we have some humidity rolling in the summertime. I don't know why.
How dare Paradise give you something like that?
Yeah, I was sweating buckets this morning, but it was great. And it, even when it, got really wet and kind of started sticking to me a little bit, it was really light and still breathed. Right, where it didn't feel like I was getting really hot and warm. So I was really happy with it, actually, with a proper sweat fest.
Awesome.
In that shirt.
Love it. Yeah, they've been great. They've been super great. So again, if you want to check out any of their stuff, you can go to runninrabbit.com and they have all of their apparel online. Awesome stuff that we love to use. Today's episode is going to be all about breaking down the kind of flagship trainer from all of these different brands. We have them in bracket format, kind of an homage to the World Cup that's been going on. And we're going to work our way from a group of 16 down to our top kind of flagship trainer. These would be the shoes that we deem as the one that if you're going to try the model as like a new introduction, this would be the shoe that kind of, quote, defines it, which that in and of itself is going to have its own conjecture and people are going to have their own opinions. And we even debated which one to throw in there. So we have 16 shoes and we're excited to go to that. But first, we're going to do our in for testing segment. And we're going to be talking about what are the things that we have been putting on our feet or any apparel we've been trying out. What have you guys been trying?
I've got a good number of things, so if it's okay, I'll go first.
Sure.
First, one of the newest things that came in was the Clifton Pro, which I am slowly getting miles on. I really enjoyed the Clifton 11, which I'm also getting miles. Actually, I almost have 100 miles in the 11.
Already?
With the Pro. I basically just was, because I didn't have any other trainers, I was just basically running constantly in the 11.
Animal.
So, yeah, that review should be out by the time that hopefully this podcast is out. The Pro has been interesting. I'm still kind of going, but I can understand. I think the Clifton very much is the easy day walking shoe, kind of like it's not really good for picking up the pace. It's light, it's great, but it's not for picking up the pace. You can do that a little bit more in the Clifton Pro. Did they need to have a totally separate shoe? I don't know. I'm still getting miles on it. It's definitely got a more resilient feel underfoot. And Nathan, you talked about this in your YouTube short. So yeah, just getting miles and still trying to figure out, but I am excited to have better durability because the outsole on the Clifton 11, I am just ripping through that thing. So yeah, that's my first one. Second one is, and I can say this by now because this shoe will be out by that time, the Topo Spectre Elite, which is probably one of my favorite racing shoes for distance stuff this year. It is awesome. It's one of the few anatomic toe box shoes. Altra, we don't know what's going on with the Vanished Carbon, but the durability was I love that shoe, but the durability was awful. This shoe I've got 30 miles on. It has been fantastic. I was kind of not getting along with the Spectre. This fixes a lot of that stuff, plus the carbon fiber plate, plus bouncier. Did a long up tempo run this morning in the shoe. It was phenomenal. If I had to go run a half marathon or marathon, this would be my shoe right now. It is actually stable neutral. I'm going to give it that credit because of the sidewalls. I wish the midfoot was full length instead of kind of split in this way, but beggars can't be choosers. So yeah, it's been really nice with the anatomic toe box and the ATPU foam. It's great. You want an anatomic shoe? It's not going to be natural. So Barefoot Mafia, you're going to get upset with how rockered this shoe is. But if that's something you don't mind, you want that in a super shoe with this much toe box room, it's great. It's an awesome shoe. David, yes.
Would you take that over any releases from the previous year? Because you said if you were to run a half marathon or marathon tomorrow, that would be your shoe.
Yeah, I actually think for me, it is beating things like the On Cloud Boom, not Cloud Boom, Cloud Monster 3 Hyper LS right now. It is that bouncy. The plate is more prominent. So yeah, and it just the fit, it just got more room, and it was so awesome on that run. So I would say yes, actually, right now.
Okay, and compared to Super Shoes, you feel I haven't had it on my feet.
Yeah, it is up there. It's not the lightest thing on the market, but it's definitely up there with other long distance racers, and I'd pick it over a lot of them, to be very honest.
And fit for you, it's the fit and the stability are those like for you, those are the high value things.
It's the fit, the stability, which isn't perfect, but it's just enough that I can do it. Like I did 12 today, pushing the stroller at an up tempo pace. Arch is fine. It's great. Didn't bug me at all, which was really a big deal. But the ATPU foam, the Rev foam, they did a great job. The geometry, the Rev foam, and the plate, I would take it over a lot of other things right now. For distances above a half marathon. Below, no. It unfortunately can't turn over really quick. As quick as I might want. I've done some workouts, but they did a really good job. The rocker's a little much, but they did a good job. And then go.
What is it about the Spectre 3 that you're not getting along with? You kind of referenced that it's not working for you. What is it? Is it the stability of that one? 'Cause it's a little. I think squirrely.
It's a little squirrely. The midfoot's a little bit narrower. I think it's the way without the plate giving structure that it just kind of either collapses or it's that forefoot that kind of is so. I notice the curve of the forefoot a lot more in the Spectre 3 than the Spectre Elite. I think the plate gives a little more structure so it doesn't collapse as much in the Elite compared to the Spectre. The Spectre is a great shoe, and I think some people are going to go along very well with that because it's another ATPU foamed training shoe, which is they've done a great. The heel's so much better than the last version. It's just the rocker's a little bit much with it not having a little extra structure for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Then final one is on Cloud Boom Strike 2, which I just did a workout in the other day. It's been great. Different than the previous version. I think durability is going to be a lot better with the full-length outsole, which great job on. Another wide toe box shoe, not quite as stable for me just because of the narrows, but it's moves. It was really fun during a track workout the other day. So need to get more miles. I don't have enough yet to really comment, but it's nice.
Colors make it look like the Hulk. 2, correct me if I'm wrong, they dropped the price from version 1 to version 2.
So
like $30.
It's $250 now instead of $280 for the previous version, which I think that's a big deal. And I think
that's smart of them.
And the quality didn't drop. I would say the quality is the same, if not a little bit better. Like my version's lighter. It feels smoother. The forefoot pops a little bit more. The fit's a little bit more dialed in. So you're getting better for less. And I don't think there's another company out there that's done that. So good job on. That's great.
Not that 250 is cheap, but it is in line with other shoes in that category.
I would say it's not in line. I would say most things that are in line with the Cloud Boom Strike 2 are in the 280 range. I think easily like Alpha Fly, I don't remember how much the CLO X1 version 3 is, but like there's not a lot of like that top tier stuff is in that 280, like Puma Fast R3. $300, right? I think that
you
shoe,
put this in that realm.
Easily puts in that like upper echelon realm.
Yeah.
But it dropped
Alpha
to 250.
Fly.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. It competes with that group. And
well, don't say that out loud so they don't raise the price next time.
Okay, fine. It's awful. Keep the price where it
is. Love it.
But a lot of racers. Some trainers right now. Little extra add-on that the rest of the group is not going to know about. I also have the Under Armour Velocity Pro, which I'm excited to get some miles on. The Velocity Elite 3 was a decent shoe. Part of the reason I got this is I've had some fun with Under Armour, which sadly is coming to an end because they're closing their Portland office. And sorry guys.
Yeah. So I'll go next. I've got a couple. Most of what I've been running in, it's not like I've been running a lot of different shoes, but I've gotten a lot of miles in the Clifton Pro because it's been one of my favorite shoes to run in right now. I just did 11 in it yesterday, and did a little bit of a workout in it too. So it's been, and by workout right now, that means slightly up tempo with some, strides and things like that. So nothing crazy, but it's just been a great trainer. I've said it a million times about the pro label feels really misleading. It's just a trainer, but I love the durability of the outsole. I'm not seeing anything in this thing from a breakdown standpoint. Foam still feels resilient, feels really good. I haven't seen any changes in performance, and I've got a good amount of miles on it right now.
Which I will say is not common because Hoka's durability is not something that they're known for. And yet it's doing pretty good.
And then the other shoe that I've brought back out just to get some easy miles in was the Paramount Max from Saucony. And I liked it just as much as I did before. I feel like I just don't feel the weight that is measured on the scale with that shoe. And it's just so poppy and lackadaisically fun. Like, I'm not going to go run fast paces on purpose in that shoe, but I will enjoy easy miles in that shoe. And once you get moving, it doesn't feel wobbly. Standing, it's squirrely, but once you're moving, it feels really steady and nice. And that wide base is great. So I had fun running in that shoe. Then the last one that I've got is a slide from Ufos. This is the Plus. So this is their quote unquote recovery slide that has more of a midsole. We've talked about this before, but I pretty strongly believe that there aren't any shoes that help you recover better than other shoes. It's just a shoe. But designs of shoes can end up being beneficial depending on where you're at. So this one, because of how much is underneath it, it really operates as a rockered slide. And so if you need to offload your big toe joint, this actually could work really well. And with the way that the footbed is laid, it almost feels like there's what's called a metatarsal pad. And so that kind of distributes force. If you have metatarsalgia or something like that, and we bought a pair for Jana because of some stuff that she's been walking through, no pun intended. It can potentially do that for you. Obviously, go try it on and make sure it would alter symptoms, but it's not bad for that. The first time I put it on, it was tight and a little uncomfortable over the top, but it loosened over the first day or two, and it's been good, but feels very rockered underneath the foot.
It's ironic that the fit is what I was blown away by most, because most of the time when I put on slides, I'm like, I'm not used to wearing them, right? I'm not a Santa Barbara native, right? That's not normal for me. So, all right, I forget. Slides normally don't fit me well, like they're sliding off, but the fit of those actually grip pretty well. Socks, without socks, it's super comfortable. So I was really impressed with the fit, but also totally agree with you with how the offloading goes. And I also don't like a lot of arch support in a lot of sandals. It usually doesn't hit me right. It's uncomfortable. This is great. I think they did the research, but I'm also going to be with Nathan going, I don't think shoes can help you recover. And the peer-reviewed evidence out there would also suggest that recovery shoes don't really, actual recovery shoes don't exist. The things that are going to have biggest impact is going to be optimizing training, recovery, sleep, nutrition. Recovery, this part, sleep, nutrition, things that actually help tissue healing. This may help with some offloading. So I would think of this more of you're trying to redistribute forces kind of concept, which is what most shoes are capable of, as opposed to facilitating recovery.
Yeah.
And if your foot feels good, you'll probably wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does everybody wear flip flops in Santa Barbara? Is that a thing, or did I make that up?
I think you might have just made that up.
Fine. What California, Southern California? How about that? Right?
Sure.
Is that better?
Yeah. SoCal, they wear slides.
That's fair. Okay.
So, I guess on my
irritated the whole city of Santa Barbara.
There's some sandals out there. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So this probably will come up later in the podcast because we're talking about flagships, but just finished the written review on the Mizuno Waverider 30. I have been very happy with the updates. It's definitely updates. Sometimes it's it's just a little bit of an upper update, or maybe the geometry changes ever so slightly, but this one definitely feels like a pretty major update to the shoe. And it's a tricky one where I think for the masses, I think it probably will work better for a lot of people. But for the crowd that liked the firmer, high drop feel, it does start to move away from that a little bit. And those who really liked that sensation, they might not like the change. But I think as far as like a larger population of people go, it probably will speak to a larger population of people. Yep. With that said, it's a super critical EVA midsole, super soft. Like, and again, I just said super soft. In regards to the Mizuno Waverider, that is not something we've ever really said. It's traditionally a pretty firm shoe. So really soft midsole. It's bouncy underfoot. The rounding is a little bit more than we've seen in previous models. I wouldn't go as far to say that it's like as rockered as like a lot of the rockered shoes that you're used to experiencing. Like the Waverider's never really been a super rockered shoe, but it's the most rockered of the Waveriders so far. And the wave plate that's in this shoe, it's full length now, and it's still pretty flexible though. Like it's a plastic plate that's in there, but it has just enough stiffness to still feel like you're rolling through the front. Yep. The one thing I will say, because the foam's a lot more compliant, they brought it down to an 8mm drop, but even though it's an 8mm drop, because you engage with that foam and you compress it a lot more than you may have in the previous versions, I can still feel that plate spooned out. And so that sensation of the Waverider where you're dropping into the forefoot from a higher drop position, that still stands. I still feel that. It just feels like a different way. It just feels like a different way of getting there. But that general sensation is still there. And I'm saying all of this to just say that I really like it. And the review's out now. Or it should be out by the time this comes out. But yeah, it's a really pleasant surprise. And it's also like, so you have a supercritical EVA, soft, bouncy, responsive, and it's at like 9.4 ounces in men's size 9 at 42.5mm of stack. I think this immediately puts it into a pretty solid conversation as far as daily trainers go, as being competitive in the market, because I actually took it to the track. I wasn't going to say this, but I mean, I ran 8x100 on and off, and I was going pretty quick, and I got it down. I mean, I ran, I'm like trying to remember this, but I had 2 or 3 of them at 15 seconds and 3 that were at 14 low. So I turned over pretty good in the shoe, and it didn't feel like it got in my way. Like, are there faster shoes out there? Sure. But like, it can turn over and I can go fast, and you can do workouts in them. So, yeah, very pleasant surprise. So sorry guys, I kind of rambled there.
I would 100% agree with you that I found it to be, and whenever I think about this shoe, I think about when we first started doing this, right? And I have memories of running in one of the older Waveriders and doing a workout in it. It was so snappy, responsive. I feel like that kind of got lost in recent versions. And this one brings it back to that, where it's almost like a lightweight trainer, where it has, like, one of my major runs in version 30 ended up being an up-tempo run, because I think, I remember Isabella was at daycare and I had the morning off, and Richie and I ran without the stroller. And it just turned it up to easy. It was just, I was turning over. It felt great. And I was like, wow, I'm hitting like mid-low 6s, not even working that hard. Like, wow, this is what it's like to run without the stroller. But it was in that shoe, and it just turned over so nice. It really reminded me of a softer thing that we had experienced in the past, but it's a different shoe, but it is also still I think what you said makes the essence is still there. It's still a Waverider. It's just it's got a new look and a new feel, but it's still, some of the feelings are still there. Its essence is still there.
Speaking of essence, that made me think of the word ethos, which is me thinking about, well, okay, so I don't know, people who are listening probably remember me saying about when we were talking about the new Topo Spectre. We were like, oh, Topo Spectre, it's this new age thing, like it's got this new foam, but they're not, in my opinion, they're not going to put a plate in there. That'd be against their ethos. And then like a couple days later, we had the Elite shipped like to Andrea, and I'm like, well, eat my words, I was wrong.
I put that in. So my review of the Spectre Elite is done, and I put that in our intro going, we on the podcast said I doubt Topo is ever going to do a carbon plated super shoe. And then it's literally like a couple days later, like, oh.
I would have loved to been in the room when they made that decision to add a plate. Because I don't think that decision was made lightly. I think that they were.
I still think this has probably been in the works for a while. Not to interrupt you, and they executed it really, really well for our first one. They didn't mess around.
That's cool.
So yeah.
And then I think I just got one more. I feel like I have the shortest in for testing this time. So just because I took it out earlier today on that tempo run that I was alluding to with the low tide. But the Saucony Endorphin Elite 3, that was my first time actually running in the shoe, because I've actually kind of have had the foot stuff, and I really haven't felt good enough to go fast. Or put super shoes on, really. Like, even when I was on the track, I was wearing the Waverider, like we were talking about. I actually really, really liked it, as long as I was not turning. The turning it wasn't awful, but it was hard. It was hard enough to where I felt like I had to tiptoe a little bit. There's been some other shoes in the past where I felt worse turning, but I feel like they did a great job with the tall sidewalls. I feel like the geometry is dialed in really well. The stiffness is good. I feel like it's stiffer than Endorphin Elite 2. And I feel like I really kind of pivot off the forefoot well. And I feel like as long as I like lean forward and just engage my leg into the ground, like it does respond. And so for longer distance efforts, I think it's great. I think it definitely bottoms out. It's really soft, the Incrediron. So it bottoms out a little bit for like top speed stuff. But if for like a marathon, half marathon, maybe even 10K, like it's pretty good. Yep. I don't know that it'll win an award later in the year, but I think they did do a good job for what it's worth, as long as it's in a straight line.
I do think they win this by far the softest and bounciest super shoe out there, like by leaps and bounds. Just controlling it is another story.
As always, our info testing segment is fueled by Skratch Labs. If you want to get 20% off your first order, you can use the code Doctors of Running. I wanted to give a little shout out to Skratch because I've been using different family members. We were on like a little vacation in Wisconsin still, but a little vacation, and I had been trying other types of protein powders. And I even bought one on my own just to try from Puori. And Skratches actually taste good. Their recovery stuff, it actually has good flavor to it. Yep. Everything else tastes like protein powder. Skratches, I just like enjoy. So almost like a dangerous amount. Like I would just keep drinking it. Yep. Okay, but let's get into our main segment for today. Again, what we are doing is we are looking at 16 different brands and bringing forward their flagship daily neutral daily trainer, whatever order you want to put those adjectives in. And as I said, there's probably some conjecture. Like we had to debate, are we putting in Novablast? Are we putting in the Nimbus? Are we putting in the Cumulus? Like what is their trainer? And there might be some brands that you disagree with our choice. We'd love to hear which one you would have put in and why. We are open to that. That could be fun. And then obviously people are going to disagree with our choices. But the rules of the road is that we're going to put two shoes up against each other. We've put them in bracket format. The winner is the one that gets at least 2 out of 3 votes from our team. So if I and David pick one and Matt picks the other, the one that David and I pick is going to move forward. The other thing that we're going to do is choose our order of who has to select first. So we're going to have the order always be David, Matt, and myself, and then back to David. But whoever goes first is going to change each time. So the first time, David will be the first one to pick. For the second matchup, Matt will be the first one to pick. For the third matchup, I'll be the first one to pick. And the chances of me keeping that straight are about 50-50. So we'll see how it goes. But I think that'll make it so that one of us doesn't always have to be the tiebreaker, and it can kind of be split up. Are we ready to rock?
No.
Why?
It's going to be hard.
I know what the 16 seed is. It feels very intentional to put me.
We spent time. We also spent, I think that's another important point. We spent time seeding these based on kind of legacy. So not necessarily our opinions on the shoe, but more like legacy, how long the shoe's been around, maybe popularity, general things like that. And it was definitely based on our feel of that. We didn't do market research to look at the sales. We'd love to hear if people would have seeded these differently. That would be a fun conversation too. So have at it. We'd love to hear your thoughts. But this is based on our vibes and our feel off of how popular these shoes are, the legacy behind some of these models.
I can't wait to see the comment section on this.
Oh, it's going to be great. So here we go.
It's going to be probably the most heated comment section we've had.
You will understand the shoes that are in the bracket as we go through. So our first matchup is the 1 seed against the 16 seed. The 1 seed being the Novablast series, and then the 16 seed being the Cellula, right? Series. Cellula, dang it.
Cellula is hot sauce, my guy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I was like, that's hot sauce. What's better to run in, hot sauce or the Novablast?
The poor Diadora people were like, it's not even Italian hot sauce. Come on, Nathan. What are you doing?
Cellula. No,
Cellula.
Cellula.
You can
From
say Cellula.
Diadora.
You can say it wrong. It's fine.
Woof.
It's cool.
I'm turning into Matt here. This is not good.
Yeah,
So,
this is definitely not good.
David, why don't you kick us off? What is your pick and why?
Yeah, so the reason why I'm so conflicted is I actually really like this Cellula too, a lot. It's like one of those mild stability kind of training shoes where it's definitely stable neutral. The rocker's done well. The foam isn't the most exciting. It's definitely a firmer, just kind of, it just is what it is. You know, it's a firmer EVA type of feeling shoe. But I feel like the ride and the geometry and the upper, like it's all done really well. But I feel like the Cellula could have upset someone, but it's gone against the Novablast, and I feel like I've done well with the Novablast over the years. The 5 has been a go-to for me for pretty much everything travel related. Like if I picked one shoe to walk around, run in, and dress up, like my white Novablasts, I go to those pretty frequently on the Novablast 5. The Novablast 6, I feel like I didn't love it as much as I liked the 5. It wasn't bad. I just think I liked the 5 better. I am so torn on this choice, man. This
is the 1 versus 16 too. We're gonna be here forever.
I know this is not cool to put the Cellula at a 16 against the Novablast, but I think I still have to go with the Novablast. The foam's a little bit nicer. I think it's more responsive. The upper's still done well. Like they definitely like paid attention to things with that shoe, even if it wasn't a home run across our whole team. If I was forced to choose one, I would still go with the Novablast. And it's also cheaper. The Cellula, I think, is at like $180, I think. So for $180, it is a little steep. I think if it was $150, it'd be a steal. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Novablast. And yeah, that was painful.
Matt, what about you?
I'm going to go with the Novablast as well. I actually totally echo David. I loved the stability of the Cellula. I didn't like how heavy or flat it felt. For running, for walking, it is awesome. It's definitely one of those premium walking shoes where I'm like, hey, you need something stable, you want something nice, great. But in terms of overall versatility, the Novablast is going to win, even though I hate the transition of this shoe. Version 5 was great. I feel like this is like going back to version 4 would have that really slappy transition, and I understand why they're trying to do that. It just doesn't feel good to me, but I have gotten tons of miles on it, and the versatility is better. It is the better running shoe of the two of them, so I'm going to have to go with Novablast.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I was just going to say the Diadora shoe, whatever y'all want to call it, is great for standing and walking. Yeah, it's just awesome. It's top tier for that. So we got 3 votes for Nova. Nova moves on. So now we're going to our 2 seed against our 15 seed. This is the Hoka Clifton against the Mount to Coast R1. Matt, you get to kick this one off.
Got it. So while I appreciate what Mount to Coast is doing, and if we did version 10, this would actually be a very different story for the Clifton. But version 11 has crushed it for me. It has been a fantastic shoe. Like I said, I almost have 100 miles on it. Comfort's really good. I feel like they've done the structure of the shoe a lot better, where there's actually some surprisingly good, like just it's such a smoother transition throughout. The rear foot, what's it called? They call it a rear foot frame. What is the phrasing? David, help me. What is it called?
I'm not sure.
They
like the crash pad?
Not.
That's a throwback.
I knew you were gonna. I don't know how I knew a
if
second
you knew
before
I was
you
gonna do
said
that, why did you defer it to me?
No, because I was just like I deferred to you because I thought you would know. And then,
they do like the H-frame and stuff in the Diadora, but not in the Clifton.
There was a half second before you said it. I'm like, oh, man, he's going to say the crash pad. Although, ironically, they did do that. The bevel in this shoe is facing medial, And that they do have a crash pad where I actually didn't like this the first few steps, but then it breaks in very nicely. And I had to eat my words because normally I hate it when people do this, but it actually worked. So super smooth transition, softer, really comfortable for both walking, running. It's at long runs. I've used it for everything except workouts. I think the Clifton 11 does a really good job. I think Mount to Coast is doing better. Some of the fit's a little bit off, has been off for me on all their shoes where I really just need a 10.5 and 10 hasn't been fitting me. And some of the midsoles feel a little bit harsher initially than I would really like. It takes a lot of miles to break them in, but also these are ultra marathon shoes. So you're going to get a lot of miles in them anyway. So like initial comfort, fit, stuff like that, Clifton's going to win. I think Mount to Coast is figuring things out. It's going to be very dangerous when they lock everything in.
Durability
but right
wise.
now, durability is amazing. Like these have 100 miles on them.
Yeah.
And so that's where the Clifton falls short with durability, but everything else I'm going to have to go with the Clifton 11.
Cool. And I'll jump in. I'll be brief in here. I'm also putting on for the Clifton 11, even though I like the Clifton Pro a lot more. We know that that's not the flagship shoe. And I like the Clifton 9 more than the Clifton 11. 10 was tough for me. 11 still has that kind of light, airy run feel, which is pleasant. It just, you can't do a whole lot in it. And I think the durability is lower than I'd want it to be. But Clifton takes it for me. What about you, David?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go Clifton. I feel like when I come to answering that question, there are two shoes that are really meant to just kind of shuffle and run your easy days in. And if I'm forced to choose, like, which one would I prefer to shuffle in? I actually echo what Matt said a lot because the R1, I felt like when I had that, it felt really nice. The foam was good and it felt durable as heck. But I felt like I just wanted a little bit more rounding to it, like it just a little bit. Yeah, it just felt like I was working just a little harder than I wanted to for easy shuffling miles. Like it's almost there. Like that could, like you said, when they get it all dialed in, it could be really, really dangerous. But I feel like the Clifton just has a little bit more experience under its foot. It's like Jaylen Brown at the Celtics taking them on deep runs. So not to throw any puns there with the trade. Anyways, but Clifton's doing good. It feels airy. The weights come down. I mean, it's like in the 9 ounces, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it feels good. It's a nice plush shoe, good upper. The upper's way better than it used to be in the 10. So I got to go Clifton on this one.
Great.
I'd say Mount to Coast, if you guys could just bevel the heel. I know I say this all the time, but like especially for an ultra marathon shoe where you're going to be on your rear foot because it is a more efficient gait style for long distances like that, just a little bit more bevel. And I think, David, maybe some of that came just because it wasn't just like kind of a little bit slightly harsh heel transition and just needed to be a teeny bit softer, which I understand from a resiliency standpoint, but yeah. 100% agree.
The next is our 3 versus 14 seed. We have the 3 seed of the Saucony Ride against the 14 seed of the Ultra Experience Flow 3. So I get to start this one. So the Ride over the last number of years has kind of taken on the body and the midsole of the old Triumphs, but in a lighter package. So I think the beauty of the old Triumphs has not been captured with the new rides yet. I think that they still don't have a lot. They want to like do it all, but they also want this like plush midsole that is that kind of beaded Power Run Plus. And I've also just had issues with some of the fit and the flexibility of the forefoot, particularly for me. And then you look at the Experience Flow 3, they're using the P35 midsole. They're a 4mm drop ultra shoe. It's got a little bit of softness to it, but not like overly soft, but soft for ultra. And I would have put that shoe in one of like the 2 got my trainer of the year. 3 is even better from a fit perspective. So I just haven't been able to run it as much because, again, just like the Ride, it's a little bit more flexible in the forefoot. But the fit is good. It doesn't have that low volume like some other ultra shoes have been having lately. So for me, I'm picking the Flow 3 over the Ride. So my vote goes to that shoe. The combination of the geometry, having the 4mm drop allows me to get a lot of miles in it. It's soft enough and it's light enough and it's just really pleasant to run in. I've gotten like long runs with some tempo in this shoe. So it's a great shoe, and that's my pick. David, you're next.
Okay, so I think I'm going to go with the Saucony Ride. I'm not a hater of the Ultra Forward experience, but I feel like the fit, it still is a little bit lower volume, and it still isn't quite as comfortable as I would like it to be for being my workhorse trainer. I feel like it basically parallels the journey of the Clifton, but I would just take the Clifton in that situation of like this slightly rockered experience, easy shuffling kind of shoe. It's almost there. I feel like the P35 midsole is much better than what they used to have. Like it's not a bad shoe by any means. I just feel like the Power Run Plus can take a little bit more of a beating. It's a little bit more bouncy. I think I can get a little bit more out of this shoe, and I think the upper has a little bit more space to it in the Saucony Ride 19, that is, and it's plush while still being breathable. And although I feel like it kind of moved away from some of the previous rides, I think in this situation, head to head, I'm still going to have to go Saucony Ride 19 as my workhorse for those two. Okay. Yeah, it's a close one though. The Ultra shoe is a good shoe. I don't want it to feel like there's any shade thrown in it. I'm against the wall here.
Yeah. Matt, what about you?
Ooh, I'm going to be more harsh where the Triumph this year is one of the best shoes out there. It is awesome. The midsole, for what you're getting for the cost, it is fantastic. It's lighter, super responsive. You can do a lot. The Ride has lost that, where I just found it's too mushy. I can barely run in it. Fits fine. It's comfortable, but the midsole, it's just not what I associate with that lighter, kind of responsive, just like not overly soft, but like it's a do-it-all shoe. The new Ride is not that shoe. And I got to give Ultra credit where some of the experiences I have not liked. I think the new P35 midsole, while not perfect, is a lot better. It doesn't feel as harsh or doesn't break down as quick as some of the other models. And I think they did a much better job updating it. It's a lot more runnable for me right now. I just think the Ride, Nathan, you hit it on the head. It's like trying to do what the Triumph did, but I don't think it should. And so I'm going to have to go with the Ultra experience.
Our first upset of the day, 14/3. I love it. Cool. Well, let's move to our next one. This was one where we had to debate which shoe to put in here for this brand, but our 4 seed is the New Balance 1080, which we were like, is that their premium one? Is the 880? But we fell on the 1080 against the Topo Phantom 4. So David, you get to start this one. Topo Phantom 4 against the New Balance 1080.
Oh, that's hard. That's so hard. I know you guys didn't love the Infineon midsole. I actually got along fine with it. I think the 1080, though, it feels like it differed, where it used to be the stiff, rockered, kind of plush experience, where now it's plush, but it's flexible up front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just a different 1080 than it used to be. With that said, I still liked it. The Phantom's solid, though. It's one of those shoes where it just, like, it doesn't have the most lively midsole, but the geometry is done really well. The upper is done incredibly well. And it's just an all-around comfortable shoe. And for easy daily miles, shoot, the Phantom 4, I think, might be calling my name. The 1080, I feel like the upper could use a little bit of work on the newest version. It's snug, but it's kind of stretchy, and it feels just a little bit off. The midsole, I think, is actually really promising. I think if they can dial that in with the good geometry, it could work. But I think the 1080 just feels like a slightly just unfinished product to me, where the Phantom, it's there. The Phantom is what the Phantom has always been, just slightly refined. And it's always been a solid trainer in our reviews, and we've always done well with it. So I'm going to go with the Phantom. Yeah, that's going to be an upset vote.
Great. Matt, what about you?
I'm in the same boat as David, where, I found the 1080 to be an interesting transition. Infineon isn't my favorite, although there's some new versions of Infineon that I'm actually enjoying quite a bit. The baggy upper was not my favorite thing in this shoe. I really had the volume is weirdly high in places and low in others. I had a really hard time locking this up or down, and I slid around a lot. I think the midsole, it's super light. I think it's one of the light. The Triumph.
No, it's light for a 1080. It's pretty light. Yeah.
What was the weight? Is it sub 9?
I think it's in the 9s. I gotta look it up, but
I don't remember at the time. But
the Triumph was sub 9.
Yeah, so I think the Triumph may have gotten this in terms of like the lightest premium trainer out there. But yeah, some of the outsole durability wasn't great. There's a lot of exposed outsole here. I think it's nice. I think if the midsole could be a little bit more of what they advertise, that'd be great. It's just, to me, it wasn't as, it's light, but it's not as like responsive as I would want this shoe to be. Whereas the Phantom, like all arounder, obviously fit really dialed in. The midsole is not the most exciting thing, but it's more stable. I saw 2 people running in the Phantom this morning out in Sherwood, and I'm like, oh, I know what that shoe is. And so I'm going to have to go with, oh man.
Before you make that decision, I'm just going to tell you 9.2 ounces, men's size 9.
For the 1080.
For the 1080. For the 1080.
Yeah, Triumph beats that because I think it's
I love how Matt has brought up the Triumph as a comparator multiple times. It's not even on the list. It's not in the tournament.
It should have been. It should have been. I'm not going to argue.
Maybe after this year it will be. Who knows? Maybe the Triumph will become the new king of Saucony.
I think it is, but
I mean, I really like the Triumph too, but yeah.
Yeah, at its current state, I'm going to have to go with the Phantom. I have actually put a lot more miles, especially walking.
Second upset.
I'm picking the Phantom 4 as well. The flexibility of the forefoot in the 1080 was not great for me. The one issue I've had with the Phantom 4 is they do have a lateral sidewall that extends a little bit more towards the forefoot. That's irritated my foot minorly before, but not in a major way. But I still prefer running in it over the 1080. The other thing, because the 1080 spans this kind of premium category, it's $20 more than the Phantom 4. So, I think you're looking 145 in the Phantom, whereas 165 or so for the 1080 or something like that. So, yeah, Phantom 4 for me as well. All right, so now we are on to our 5 seed, which is the Nike Pegasus, against the 12 seed, the Adidas Supernova Rise 3. Matt, you get to start this one.
Well, I haven't gotten to run in the Pegasus 42 because they did send it to us. Thanks, Nike. I'm just kidding. The Supernova Rise 3, I did initially not like, and then it has actually grown on me. The midsole takes some time to break in. The fit is really interesting. There is a nice heel bevel despite the flare. Man, the Dreamstrike just takes a second to break in. My last experience with the Peg 41 was pretty disappointing, where I felt like the midsole was dead on arrival. I really tried to force it. Didn't work for me. I could totally see it'd be a great like walking shoe or newer running shoe. But I'm probably going to have to go with the Supernova Rise 3. Which, by the way, what happened to the Solution 3? I reviewed it, and then it was never available in the United States. Adidas, you want to tell us? Unless it suddenly got available and I missed it recently. Like, what happened? It was like only available in Europe. And we had a bunch of comments on our video. We're like, hey, where is this? And I'm like, I don't know. And I checked it. It's not available. But the Rise 3 is stable neutral, which is really nice. It took some time to figure that out, but it is actually halfway decent in that regard. So I'm going to have to give it to the Rise.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to pick the Pegasus. And it's really just the versatility side of things that I think the Pegasus has. I agree with you, Matt, that it has not been a lively, fun shoe. But it's light enough, and it just has kind of this fit that just feels fast, which is a weird thing to maybe say. But I think that the fit does fit me well. It has enough responsiveness, even though the foam isn't super lively. I've enjoyed having the Zoom Air pockets in the forefoot. I think it's a Pegasus. The Pegasus has been the Pegasus for a while, and you can do a lot in it. And I think about, like, if you can handle neutral mechanics, you don't need structure underneath your foot, it's going to be able to do a lot for you. And so for that reason, I picked that. Supernova Rise isn't a bad shoe. I just don't enjoy running it as much as I would, again, standing, walking. I think it doesn't have as much versatility. So that's why I'm going Peg, but it was close for me. And I do like the Rise for other purposes, but not as versatile.
Before we get to our deciding vote, I'd love for the listeners to tell us, because I was arguing with these two that the Vomero, I think, is more like the like flagship shoe at this point, but they shut me down and said the Pegasus. So please let me know if I'm wrong.
1000%, it's the Peg.
Dude,
Like,
Vomero is such a better shoe.
But you walk into Dick's Sporting Goods and you can buy a Peg. And you might be able to buy a Vomero. I don't know.
Vomero
But
Like
is-
any university locker room that is Nike sponsored, and
yeah, it's
everyone's
all
got
pegs.
pegs on.
Pegs are everywhere.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of Vomeros too, so that's, and I live next to Nike, so that doesn't help. Anyway, David. I'm gonna get wrecked.
I think an interesting
again.
question, though, is in terms of the flagship, because of popularity, the Rise 3 versus the Evo SL, the Adidas
Right.
Evo SL from
Ooh.
Adidas.
Yeah, but that's
Where,
not a
like,
flagship shoe.
It's not a flagship by any means, but it might
Yeah.
very well be by the end of next year. Now that they have 4 or 5 different versions of it.
Well, you guys did
4
make
versions.
the point with the Novablast saying, "Hey, this is the most popular thing." Technically,
It took time to get there.
it did,
But
but
I'm
I
saying-
think Evo SL is their most popular selling and most
It's
top
getting
selling
there.
shoe. No, I think it is. It was
Yeah.
this last 2025, which is why they have 40 different versions of it. So they don't have.
But
40
I mean,
versions.
as far as like neutral training shoe, though, I feel like the Rise does hit the category better.
Yeah,
That's fair. Yeah, that's true.
I do
Okay.
think it hits the category better, but I think it's an interesting one where it's like from a popularity standpoint, neutral as well. The
Yeah.
Adidas Aero Evo SLs in there, and that could entirely change the landscape of this. But
Yeah.
as far as the Rise goes, I agree with everything Matt said. I mean, the Dream Strike midsole is interesting. It's nice, but it does take a little bit to break in. And it's soft and it's compliant, but it does have just a little bit of bounce back, but it's not like this super snappy, fast bounce back. It's just like, it just gives you a little bit of a bounce in your step.
Yep.
That's about all it does. And it feels nice for just taking a beating and going on easy runs. The fit was a little narrow for me, but I feel like it was nice enough. I mean, the Peg has a pretty narrow fit too, so it's not like that one is exempt from this conversation. I like what you said about the versatility of the Peg. I think that is one of those shoes where, again, you go look at any university locker room. These guys a lot of them are ripping workouts in Pegs. Mm-hmm. And you have like kind of a lug design on the bottom, a little bit of flexibility up front. It's not the fastest midsole by any means, but it's light enough and you can just kind of do a little bit of everything in it. It's a hard one for me. I think if I'm choosing personally for my own experience in both of the shoes, if I had to strictly just choose one shoe for my training miles, I think I am going to go with the Adidas Rise. I think I'm going to upset the Peg
You
here.
kind of did a switchy changey on us there. The
Wow.
way you're starting to talk about it.
Yeah, I can see why the Peg gets taken. But for me, I'm probably going to have a rotation. I've been doing this long enough. I'm not going to be doing workouts in my Rise.
Yeah. Great.
Nor do I need to. So if I'm just going easy miles, I'm going to go with the Rise.
Perfect. All right. Now we have our 6th seed, the Brooks Ghost, which I think seeding wise probably could have been much higher from a sale. If we look at sales, like from a sales perspective, Brooks
Probably
Ghost
could have been 3.
Yeah,
maybe.
it could have been way up there. It could have even been 1, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the 6th seed against the 11th seed, the Skechers AeroBurst. I am first this time.
Yes,
I am first this time. This one's honestly an easy pick for me. I have not enjoyed running in a Brooks Ghost in a while. Not that it's a great shoe to use, to have, to walk, to stand, and it really hits that market super well. I don't think its geometry and its foam is really fit for doing a lot of mileage for me and what I enjoy and the amount of firmness. It just doesn't fit me much. Whereas on the other hand, the Skechers AeroBurst, and this one has more foam than some of these others, but the price point is down with all of these trims. I think it's $140. I got tons of miles in on that shoe. I've loved that shoe. Nice and compliant, a little bit of responsiveness, doesn't feel as heavy as the weight is listed. So that's my pick, AeroBurst for me. David, what about you?
It's a hard one for me. I feel like where the Ghost wins, it's one of the few kind of firmer, higher drop options on the market still for those looking for that. And I feel like the DNA Loft has gotten better from previous versions. it's still pretty firm. It's not the most responsive thing out there, but it's softer than it used to be, and it can take a beating for sure. You know, like if you're looking to have that as your workhorse trainer, it certainly can be. The AeroBurst is an interesting one because that one, it's almost like the Paramount Max, but a little bit more tame.
Yeah,
where you definitely get a little bit more compliance and bounce to it. Like there's an experience that you notice with that almost immediately that is noticeable. And maybe it's not the fastest shoe out there, but at 140, I mean, the more I think about this, like it's quite good value for what you're getting in that shoe.
100%.
Yeah,
Sorry,
more so
I need to
than
stop
like the
advocating for my
Spark.
pick.
Yeah, I know. Like, what are you doing here? You're trying to lead me in a certain direction. Like, come on, man. I'm reasoning through this as I'm talking, and you're over here like, yeah, pick that one. Pick that one.
Great point.
Yeah, that's solid. You're doing good, kid. It's a hard one, man. And then what, the Ghost is at what, 145?
Ghost is one.
Is it 150 now?
I'll look it up.
The Ghost Amp is 150, and that's a great shoe.
Yeah,
Ghost Amp's
I was
great.
gonna say I like that
Ghost
shoe
Amp,
too.
I think,
It's
wins.
great.
Yeah, it's
in
150 for the Ghost.
150 for the Ghost.
Interesting.
For 140, I think I probably am going to go with the Skechers AeroBurst. I think it's an interesting enough experience. I think it's a fun enough experience. It's a stable enough experience. It's not like a stability shoe, but like I feel like if you were to make a purchase on it, it's a relatively safe purchase to have a fun-ish ride on your easy days. And that's no shade at the Ghost. I actually really like the Ghost. The Ghost was one of the shoes that I was running in as my foot was getting better, and it worked well for me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the things about the Ghost have gotten better. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Skechers AeroBurst on this one. I wasn't sure that I was going to go that way. Maybe Nate did just lead me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just easily swayed. But yeah, I think I am.
That's your pick.
I think I am going to go with that. That's my final pick.
All right, Matt, do you have any final thoughts on it? We know what's moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, so like I appreciated what Skechers did. I just couldn't run in this shoe. I found it it wasn't stable enough for me. The fit was kind of weird. Transition was kind of awkward. It's cool though. It's like, okay, I like what you guys are doing. Ironically, with the Bricks Ghost, the new one, all these Ghosts, I have to go up a half size. It's too short for me. The sizing has been more weird than ever before. And the Ghost 18 actually caused me a significant amount of lateral ankle pain the first several runs. So the first run that I did in it, and I almost didn't continue. Once I got past that, it was better. The midsole's not exciting. I'm actually like disappointed in the 18, but I think my hopes came back when I saw what the Ghost Amp was. To me, the Ghost Amp is kind of where I would expect the Ghost to be now. But once this breaks in, I will give it credit. It's super durable. It's very stable neutral. And even though the drop is decreasing, it still feels a little bit higher drop. And it's a great entry-level running shoe for people that need a little bit more structure, but don't want a stability shoe and a more popular model. So after break-in, I'm actually going to have to, even though it doesn't matter, I'm going to go with the Ghost.
Cool. Great.
Not that it matters, but you know.
All right. We have 2 more matches in round 1. The first one is our 7 seed, the Mizuno Waverider. And the 10 seed, the Puma Velocity Nitro.
Oh, that's a tough seed.
And this one starts with David.
That's the beauty of these middle seed matchups, right? Where it's like flip a coin, and we'll just see. I haven't run in the most recent Velocity. I know it's an ATPU midsole now, right?
Yep.
So it's probably a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to just go off of my most recent memory of the Velocity, which was a really solid neutral trainer. It was kind of like the Peg, but a little better in my mind, at least the way it ran. I'm going to have to give it to the Waverider, though. I am. For the stack height, you get the experience, you get, like, I feel like the versatility, both of those are really versatile shoes. But I think it just edges it out slightly. I think it's going to be a durable workhorse that can do a lot for you. Not that the other one can't, but yeah, I'm going to go Waverider 30. If it was Waverider 29, Matt? I would probably not pick it.
I agree.
Cool. What about you, Matt?
So I can appreciate the Velocity Nitro, but I actually think it's less versatile. I think it's less versatile into slower training paces, and it's way better into faster up-tempo stuff. Very narrow, very bouncy. It did not work well for me running easy, picking up the pace, doing strides, doing workouts. That's actually where it worked better. But the Waverider 30 can also do that and easier training paces as well. So I think from the overall standpoint, the Rider 30 wins. It's a great shoe. Both these are solid. I think Puma's getting really aggressive. They're doing some interesting things. But the Waverider 30 is such a classic workhorse that does so much that takes my win.
Cool. Yeah, kind of similar to Matt before. My vote does not matter here, but I actually would go with the Puma Velocity Nitro. I've talked about this a little bit before. I just have not been able to get along with the Waverider 30 as much as my heart wants to because I have a soft spot for the rider. But the new construction of the lower drop with the softer foam and just where the rocker sits, David hit it on the head when we talked about this before, but it's slightly later stage, and I've had a harder time with later stage rockers with pretty much any model. And so I feel so flat in this shoe when you all talk about it being versatile. It feels really flat for me and heavy, and I can't get it going. And then I just don't feel like I can get into any sort of rhythm. It just feels sloggy. So I personally don't fit with this shoe. Velocity Nitro feels like a running shoe. It can just run. And I think it's great. It doesn't have anything special, I don't think. Like we also debated, is the Pure something that could fit in here? That's kind of similar like the Adi Zero SL, Evo SL. But I picked the Velocity Nitro for this one.
Just an FYI, the Velocity Nitro has a very, very adamant following, so we are probably going to get ripped apart in the comments for that one.
That's fine. Rip me apart, fam.
Let's go. All right, next.
All right, our final match of the first round are 8 and 9 seeds. The 8 seed is the On Cloudsurfer, and the 9 is the Salomon Aeroglide. So, Matt, you go first on this one. Yep.
The Aeroglide 3 last year was a major upset, among other things, where the midsole foam is so much better. By upset,
do you mean upgrade?
Upgrade, yeah. It upset a lot of other
upset
shoes.
A lot of other shoes.
Oh,
I was following him.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm glad, David. I'm glad you did, but I also understand why that made no sense. Version 4, they did a lot more, I think, outsole flare, and it just has not been working for me. But the essence is, I'm gonna keep using that word, is still there. I love it. Yeah. The On Cloudsurfer, the Aura. Well, that's.
I'm just messing with you. Keep going. Sorry.
That's this one. I did have that on hand. So the On Cloudsurfer 2, the upper, I love this thing. The midsole, I think, is a little bit old. It's not as stable. For whatever, is like really narrowed quite a bit. I love On. This is not one of my favorite On shoes. This is the On Cloudsurfer Max. Just not doing it for me for whatever reason. So I am going to have to go with the bouncier and surprisingly good Salomon.
Yeah. Cool. For me, I've talked about this as well on previous episodes, but with the Aeroglide series, there has been something about where the flaring sits, what the outsole tackiness is, where I have just rolled my ankle a ton in it. So it's a shoe that just does not work for me.
And Aeroglide as well.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, because I remember the Aero Blaze, you said that.
Yeah, Blaze and Glide have been the same story, where I'm just walking and I just hit it, and it doesn't have enough to keep me from rolling my ankle. So that makes it really hard for me to make a personal pick towards the shoe. But I agree that their foam advancement in the last 2 years has been incredible. I do like the geometry. I think they have a lot set up really well. The fit is solid, and it's a lightweight upper, and I like that. I really like the first version of the Cloudsurfer way more than the newer one. But I still appreciate kind of the smooth transitions. For me, I think it's pretty benign of a shoe where you are going to operate off of that rocker platform a little bit, and it's just kind of smooth and lumbers along. It's not going to be anything that breaks any records. I don't know why they went back quite firm in comparison to version 1. I would like to see some of that softness come back, but I'm going with the Cloudsurfer for my vote.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the On Cloudsurfer Next was probably the shoe that I preferred of the Cloudsurfer series there. But I could see what they did with the Cloudsurfer, especially kind of making that now their flagship-y line where they're going to go like, okay, you want snappy and firmer down here. You want a little bit more plush. I mean, on plush, like go in this direction for the Surfer Max. But yeah, I think the one thing with the Cloudsurfer that's interesting is there's some flexibility up front on the rocker, which is interesting because most rockered shoes that are rockered that much don't have flexibility like that in the forefoot. But I'm similar to you with the Salomon, where I just have not gotten along with whatever that lateral sole flare in the forefoot or however the upper integrates with it. I get this like kind of lateral foot pain in the Aeroglide, and I got it in the 3 and I got it in the 4. And it's just one of those weird things where I want to like the shoe. I do. It's a lightweight shoe. The beaded foam feels great, and I'm happy that it works for a lot of other people, but it just simply just doesn't line up with my mechanics and how I strike. And maybe it's just a me problem. I honestly don't know, but it's one of those things where I can really appreciate it, but it's just not there for me. Where I feel like if I'm forced to choose between the two, the Cloudsurfer is a little bit of a safer bet. You kind of know what you're getting. It's just a neutral shoe. It's kind of like the Peg for On, right? Like, it's not the most lively foam, but it's a pretty, predictable platform that you're going to be running on. And they make good uppers as well, and you can trust that it's a pretty well-built shoe. So I'm going to have to go with the On Cloudsurfer 2 on this one.
Okay. Well, that wraps up our first round. We're now
jumping an hour to do one round. We're going to have to...
The next rounds will be much quicker. We don't need to give rundowns of the shoes. What we'll do now is we'll put the next, as they're moving through the bracket, we'll put the next matchups together, and then we'll say which one we pick and a very quick why, and we'll move our way through. So next we have the Novablast, the 1 seed against the 8 seed, the Cloudsurfer. I go first on this one. I'm picking the Novablast to move beyond. I think it's more fun to run in, better transitions, hits that softness point, and so I'm picking Novablast. The next is I forget.
I went first the first time, so
yeah, it'll be you, David.
Matt? It's me?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to go Novablast. I think I like the springier forefoot. I think the transitions could probably be a little bit smoother. For some reason, the 5 was smoother than the 6 for me, but I think a lot of the same DNA is there. The turbo squared is, I like it in the forefoot. I just wish the rear foot and midfoot was a little smoother. Yeah. So I'm going to go with the Novablast. I think the flexibility issues in the Cloudsurfer for me take it out of this equation.
Yeah. Matt?
Same.
Okay, great. So we got the Novablast moving forward. Now we have the 2 seed, the Clifton, against the 7 seed, the Waverider. And David, you get to pick first.
I also just want to place the emphasis on this. This is now the quarterfinal of this Trainer Cup.
This is the quarterfinal.
This is the quarterfinal. So everything we've been watching in terms of the World Cup this week with the showdown between England and Norway, the drama with all of those games, like this is that round. So this should start to get serious. Because if you win this, you go to a semifinal, to the Final Four. So what do we got again? Sorry, I was focused on that.
Clifton,
holding up.
Clifton and Waverider.
Oh, that's tough. Gosh darn it. That matches everything I just said. Oh, that's tough. Okay. Clifton 11 is great. I think it's the best Clifton they've had in a while. I'm going to have to go with the Waverider, though. I think the versatility, the weight, the transitions, versatility, outsole durability, and traction. If I was a high school runner right now and I walked into a running shoe store and I was like, I just need a shoe to get me through the season, and they're both around the same price point, I'm going to go with the Waverider.
Well,
I say high schooler, but I mean like even as an adult, right? Like if I'm just like running my daily miles, I think I am going to go with the Waverider if I want it. Because I feel like I could actually race in the Waverider if I really needed to, where like there's no way on earth I would do that in the Clifton.
Yeah.
And I feel like the daily training experiences aren't so different that I'm like, okay, it's Clifton hands down. Like I'm not going to go that way. But I love the Clifton. I think it's a great shoe, but we're in the quarterfinals, baby. It's going to get tough.
Matt, what's your pick?
I'm going to go with the Clifton. It's just, to me, is more comfortable. I mean, it's given by the fact that I have more miles on it. It's more stable, which is something I'm looking for. It's not that the Rider isn't stable. It's just it's not in that full stable neutral category. And yeah, the Clifton would be just something a little bit better, and I would have a separate racing shoe. So that's me.
Yeah, and I think we know where this one's going just because I didn't pick the Waverider in the first round. So
Yeah.
I'm going with the Clifton. That moves the Clifton forward to the semifinal. I think that the Clifton's great for most easy mileage, standing, walking. It's versatile from the walking and standing up to running phase.
Yeah.
It's not versatile forward from easy running to fast running.
Nope.
All right, our next is a pair of upsets here because it's the 14 seed, the Ultra Experience Flow, and the 11 seed, the Skechers AeroBurst. And Matt, you get to start this
I'm
one.
starting.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with Ultra Experience Flow. Again, compared, the Burst just didn't really, I'm not holding up the wrong shoe. The Burst just didn't really work for me. Just didn't transition well, not as stable. The Experience Flow, fit-wise, transition-wise, just works a lot better for me personally. So I'm going to have to go with Ultra.
Right. David.
I'm gonna have to go with the Ultra Experience Flow. Like I said, I feel like it's basically like the Clifton, just slightly off of it. Like I said, I mean, even though I had the Clifton losing, I really, really like that shoe. So I just really like the Waverider. And I feel like although this one doesn't feel quite as good as the Clifton, to me, the Ultra Experience Flow, it's almost there.
Yeah.
And so that shoe, I think, wins over the Skechers AeroBurst, even though it kind of has some fun factor with the Skechers. I feel like the final product, it feels a little bit more touched up in the Ultra.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to pick the Experience Flow as well. I've really appreciated what you can all do in that shoe. I think you can do easy, longer stuff. You can pick up the pace. It's light enough to do a little bit more. I love the fit. So Daily Trainer, it checks a lot of those baseline boxes, and the foam is just soft enough. All right, our last quarterfinal is another pair of upsets. The 13 seed, the Topo Phantom 4, against the 12 seed, the Adidas Supernova Rise. Sorry, Matt,
I
you
feel
just
like
did.
it might be you.
It's me. Yes. Sorry. I'm getting lost in the sauce here. So my pick is going to be the Topo Phantom 4. I think that the balance of the softness of the foam, a little bit of responsiveness, it's a really nice fit because Topo always nails that. And I think it's mainly that fit comparison between these two shoes where Topo takes it for me. So that's my pick. All right, David.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Phantom 4. I feel like fit's dialed in, geometry's dialed in. Again, it's one of those examples where maybe the foam isn't the craziest innovative thing, but it's just a really well-constructed shoe. It's kind of like what I was saying about the Diadora earlier, but the foam in the Phantom is just nicer than the Diadora foam. And I feel like it's making a run on this tournament because of that, and it's just nice enough with everything else doing a really good job. It's making a run. That thing's making a semifinal.
Yeah, it sure is. Matt, what's your pick here on this?
Same thing. Fit, ride is just a little bit better optimized across the board.
Great. We are in the semifinal, and we've got the 1 and the 2 seed in there, and then we have the 13 and 14 seed. So our first, and they're on opposite sides, so it's kind of fun. So we've got our first semifinal is Novablast against the Topo Phantom 4. So Asics, Novablast, Topo Phantom 4. David, you get to be the first one to speak on this one.
That's a tough one. I mean, obviously we're in the semifinal. There's only 4 shoes left. I think I'm going to have to go with the Novablast still. I think there's just enough life in that shoe where I've had enough history in it. I know what to expect. Even if I don't love some of the changes that were made, I still like it enough. I still like it enough to use as a daily trainer, turn it up if I need to. I can totally see why someone would take the Phantom, though, personally. It's just, the Phantom's the example of everything done really well without being like a wowza in the foam.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and so it's like a craftsmanship versus innovation almost.
Ooh, yeah.
And
that's good. I agree with that. That's interesting.
So I think the love of the craft takes you really far, obviously, like it did in this tournament for me, but I think the innovation's slightly winning because the craftsmanship's still pretty good in the Nova.
All right, Matt, you're next.
That heel transition stinks in the Novablast. I'm going to go with the Phantom.
I knew that was going to happen. He's like, I would have had to know that in my first round if I could have.
Frustrates me. I'm like, Asics, why did you go back to the... And I'm so terrified because the GT 2000, the new one, looks like this. And I'm like, gosh, don't make me hate this shoe 2 years in a row. Like, come on. We haven't gotten it yet. That's not going to help them see the 2000 to us, but...
Well, I was hoping I didn't have to be the decider on this one. This one's tough for me, but if I take away a lot of the stuff, I think that if I simply look at like which shoe have I reached back for more often, it's the Novablast. I can do more in the shoe, and I've gotten a ton of miles in the Novablast 5 and now 6. And I think the Phantom, again, for me, has almost everything right. I think some of the sidewalls, I would love to just refine those a little bit, and it's going to be maybe beating the Novablast, but I think that the versatility of the Novablast is another piece that takes it over the Phantom. So that moves our Novablast into our final. Sorry, Matt.
Of course it does.
But Matt, you get to be the first pick on this next one.
Okay.
We have the 2 seed, the Clifton from Hoka, against the 14 seed, the Altra Experience Flow.
The Clifton wins easily. I mean, so just smoother transition. I do a little better with the 8mm drop. The fit isn't as good as Ultra, but the rear foot frame in this, the structure does a lot better for me in the Clifton. So that's a win.
So I'm next. I'm actually going with the Ultra Experience Flow. I think that for me, the Clifton foam, when they went from the 9 to the 10, that 10 and 11, that airiness is nice, but it takes a lot of life away from it and a lot of durability away. And I feel like the P35 midsole gives me everything that the Clifton would give me and more. Fit is better. Basically across the board, I like the Experience Flow more. So I'm going with Experience Flow over the Clifton.
And I'm the tiebreaker.
Yeah,
You sure are.
I think we know where my vote is. It's almost like this got manifested because I've literally said it like 3 or 4 times now.
You have. When you said it before, I was like, well, we know where this is. It's not quite the blank.
It's like the Ultra is really good. It's just not quite the Clifton. I feel like they both kind of fill the same void where they're kind of like this rockered shoe where you could just get your daily miles in. They're both decently lightweight for what they are from a cushioning standpoint, but neither are like crazy responsive, right? Like it's just meant to be an easy day shoe. I think some of the updates to the upper in the Clifton 11 really give it the nod. I think if it was Clifton 10 versus the Ultra, I probably would go with the Ultra. But the Clifton 11, I actually really like the fit. I don't feel like the Ultra fits better. I think the slightly more spacious Clifton really aligns with my foot better, and it locks down without sacrificing, much. I don't feel like my foot's sliding around or anything. It actually just feels more comfortable, more plush, but still breathable.
Cool.
If anything, more breathable than the 10. So I'm a big fan of the 11. The Clifton 11 is going to the final.
And since we are mirroring the World Cup, we have to have a third place match, of course. So this is the
they do a third place match. Yeah,
Matt. So there's always a third place match. So the 14 seed against the 13 seed. So the Experience Flow from Ultra or the Phantom 4 from Topo. I feel like this is a great brand matchup to just throw in there.
I actually kind of like this. It forces us to choose, and then you kind of see where we collectively are. Maybe we'll do more of these in the future. I don't know.
Yeah. Kind of cool. And I think I'm first on this one, if I'm doing my order correctly. I'm guessing you could hear that I don't really have many complaints about the Experience Flow. I would have picked it to go to the final. That's getting my pick. I think that the fit and the geometries are just slightly better. Transitions are a little bit better. Foam is slightly firmer in the Experience Flow versus the Phantom, and I like the level of firmness. So that's what I'm going with, but they're very similar platforms. David, you're next.
Like I said, craftsmanship takes you far, but it might not win the whole thing, but it will get you a medal. I'm going to go with the Phantom 4 from Topo. I think they are a masterclass in giving you good uppers, good geometry, and just giving you a comfortable shoe. Might not be the most exciting thing out there, but it gets its job done really well. And if I had to choose a shoe on the shelf and I was going for a run tomorrow, I would go with the Phantom over the Ultra.
They do sometimes do exciting things.
They do. I'm just saying, like, the training lines traditionally, I mean, like the Cyclone's an exciting shoe. It has been for the last 3 generations. So I'm just saying more the Phantom, Magnafly, like those types of shoes.
Got it.
Matt, you're the decider. Who gets the bronze here?
Phantom. Yep. Solid choice. Upper is a little bit more dialed in for me. Fit, transition, or obviously fit. I just said that. The transition's just a little bit smoother with the 5mm drop, and just the way the sidewalls actually work very well for me. That just gives a little bit more structure and a little higher arch that Topo is known for. So Topo takes the win.
Awesome. All right, now we are on to our final. This is the Asics Novablast, which was our 1 seed, against the Hoka Clifton, which is the 2 seed. David, you get to kick us off, and then it goes myself and then Matt. No.
Dang.
Matt and then myself.
Yeah.
Matt, you go first. I can't remember.
David, go.
This is a hard one for me. This is painful.
You say that every time.
I know, but this one's really painful because there's things I really like about both of them, and I really like the versatility of the Novablast, and I really like the upper, and I like the just gentle geometry and kind of just plush, easy riding of the Clifton. I think this is the best Clifton. Like I said earlier, I think this is the best one they've done in a while. Like, this is the first time I kind of turned my head and I was like, oh snap, the Clifton's back, baby. Where the Novablast, I almost felt a little bit let down, where I really liked the 5. And I wanted that 6 to be like, if it was the 5 versus Clifton 11, I think I might go Novablast 5. But I think this year specifically, I think I am going to go with the Clifton. I think I'm going to take the Clifton. I think the rear foot and midfoot transition could be a little bit smoother on the Novablast. We're starting to split hairs, right? We're in the final. I think the forefoot and the versatility of the Novablast is great. I think there's a lot of life and there's a lot of positive things that come from that shoe. It's obviously in the top 2 shoes here in this flagship tournament. But I just wish the heel and the midfoot could just be a little bit smoother. I do feel like I'm slapping a little bit, where the Clifton 11, the transitions feel so well done. The upper is way better than it has been in previous versions. The foam is not awful. Like, it's got a little bit of spring to it. But it's definitely meant for easy days, but it doesn't feel like super flat. Like, it's a nice shoe. It's a really nice shoe, even though I had it knocked out earlier in the tournament. If it was one of those shoes was about to make a run for me, and that's just what happened. So I'm going to go with the Clifton.
I'll go next then, because my pick is the Novablast. So as of now, I think I still have more time to get more miles on this new Clifton. But it hasn't taken over for me the versatility that I get from the Novablast. And I found that I've gotten a little bit more out of the Novablast forefoot as I've gotten more miles in it. That new little kind of insert of the turbo squared is giving me more as I've gotten more in it. So Novablast takes it for me. Clifton just doesn't give me enough versatility in comparison. So that's the kicker. And I don't transition too poorly in the Nova. And I've liked that for since version 3. It's been a steadfast for me. Matt, you're the decider.
Yeah, so I totally agree with David, where the forefoot is very nice in the Novablast, but the heel and midfoot transition is awful, in my opinion. I mean, it's not like people are still going to like this shoe. They like version 4. It's still going to be really popular. But even though I have decent miles, really struggle with geometry. Even actually got hip pain just even walking in it, and had to get out of the shoe, and it alleviated. So the Clifton 11 is such a strong transition, again, some good rear foot structure, midfoot structure that works really, really well. Could the durability be a little bit better? Yes, but the fit, the upgraded sock liner, if I'm going to reach for one of these, it's going to be the Clifton every time. Not necessarily for workouts, right? Neither one of these would I choose for workouts, just because I tried in Novablast. I can't. It just, when I pick up the pace, that heel transition just gets so much worse. And so I'm going to have to go with the Clifton because it has been so much more comfortable. And based on mileage, that's what I've chosen.
Fantastic. Well, that was pretty fun. So I'm excited to see what people think. Like, where would you have had votes changed or seeding changed that may change who wins? Because like some of these shoes, like the Novablast, was only unanimous one time in this entire thing. So I think that there's opportunities for fun conversation about these shoes. But hopefully what you got from this, that we put it in this silly format, was just a comparison between all of these different trainers that are out there that are the flagship models and what you may go to and why, and maybe you found out why you might want to try this as your next shoe versus that, just based on how we discussed it. So thank you all for joining us for this episode, and we look forward to talking with you next time.